Okay. Hi, Harry.
Hi, Laura.
Lovely to see you for our weekly musings.
Hmm.
So, Harry, we've done all these sessions all these chats we've been having each week. We have very much had the themes around the main questions that we get asked in our workshops.
Yes.
So, siblings, anxiety, adulthood,
Education.
and education, which is the education one has been so popular. But we're going to do something a little bit different this week. So this week we're going to talk about questions that we don't like being asked, and that particularly you don't like being asked, and why we don't like being asked those questions.
Okay.
Okay. So do you have a in descending order, or is it just?
You know what? I can just describe the type of question that never sits well with me.
Okay.
And I believe on a personal level, this recording is going to be very cathartic for me.
Good.
Because I understand people are both curious and desperate for information. However, well, I'm happy to provide information. Those who follow me would have realized by now that I have a rather extensive video collection on my YouTube channel. And I've written countless posts, blogs, essays at this point, both on my Facebook page and my website. All of which are 100% free of charge. There are always a few individuals who will kind of linger around the comment sections, waiting for their opportunity to pounce. Let's begin with the obvious component here. Questions can be very demanding. They can be very demanding indeed. Even if they are politely asked, it doesn't actually matter. I don't discriminate in that way. If a person wants to extract information from me, then it is already a demand. But some questions are easier to cope with than others. And it is largely down to the attitude of the person asking the question, the attitude and the emotional state of the person. I have already stated, I understand that people find themselves in what they describe as predicaments. They are confused, they are in pain, and they want a way out. I get that on a human level.
Yeah, I do.
But on a PDA level, I don't get it. So it's very important that people understand that distinction. The more emotionally fraught a person is when they approach me, and the more desperate they are for information and for help, the less likely I'm going to be cooperative with them. You know, that's just a fact. It's an unfortunate fact that leaves me feeling more guilty than they might imagine. I have also mentioned to you that sometimes I find it a little bit entitled of people who might flood my inbox with enormous essays expecting me to just cooperate and provide free information. I can't help but feel, gosh, mystery person. Do you feel as though I'm just sitting here waiting? Have you not considered that other people may be just as hungry for information? People sometimes don't realize that as much as I enjoy this position, it can be a demanding lifestyle.
Yeah, it is demanding.
PDA constitutes 100% of my life. Not just my lived experience, but my profession also. It takes up all of my time. And whilst I want to help everyone, I can't help everyone at once. So when people don't consider that, I get a little testy.
Yeah.
All the while understanding that given their situation, they can't help themselves, I feel. Now, we can move on more specifically to types of questions. So, yes, we've discussed entitlement and how, hey, at the end of the day, this is my livelihood. You know, if I provide one person with free information, it wouldn't be fair on the rest of people who wait patiently and who acknowledge that this is my livelihood.
Yeah.
Who acknowledge that there is a process they have to undergo before I can speak to them in a consultative context.
Yeah. And
so we've discussed that.
I was just going to say as well, Harry, you know, I know the number of emails that I get, and you probably get the same number. It takes a long time to read them and digest them and answer.
Yeah.
It's not just a quick, like, 5-minute typing.
No.
It's so much more than that.
So true. And I wouldn't feel right just giving someone short shrift to such a pressing question, to such an important question, to such a delicate question. I can't just give people short shrift. I have to read every word with utmost care, and I have to ensure my response is clear and diplomatic. So with this in mind, these are just more demands.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would be nice if people could understand. I won't say respect. It would be nice if people could just consider that they are not the only person who emails me. And, you know, that's at the risk of sounding careless. That's not the case.
No,
what drives me is my compassion, is my need to be as supportive as I possibly can, despite the fact I am human and a very flawed one at that. You know, consider your children and the things they find difficult. I am the same. You know, that's enough virtue signaling from me, but it's true. Now, the types of questions. Okay, so as you are aware, Laura, I am an advocate for understanding over strategies.
Absolutely.
Because I find the word PDA and the word strategies, or the term PDA strategies, I almost find oxymoronic. It doesn't make sense to me. The two do not go well together, because the fact that something is a strategy being employed by a parent suggests that the parent have better ideas for the child.
Yeah.
And that kind of mentality is not going to be conducive to positive long-term outcomes. It's not going to work. I can expand on that in further detail, but it doesn't matter. I've spoken about that kind of thing before. It doesn't work well in my brain. What strategy do I use on my child? I think this is the problem. That is the kind of attitude that I'm talking about. That is the kind of question that I take issue with, because a question like that is stemming from a person whose attitude and understanding are at the very rudiments. And then I have this immediate spike in anxiety when I'm confronted with a question like that. How do I get my child to clean their room? How do I get my child to get into their uniform? These things to me are so trivial. What they want their child to do is so trivial. And how they're trying to get their child to go about doing these things is so damaging. So it's a horrible mixture of triviality and a damaging attitude that I immediately get flooded with this spike in anxiety. And my urge is to move well away from that person.
Yeah.
Because I can feel immediately why their child struggles so much. I'm not suggesting for a moment PDA is caused by bad parenting.
No.
I'm suggesting that for some children, the frequency of outbursts and meltdowns can be caused by an incorrect attitude on the part of the teacher, parent, or whomever else is in their midst.
Yeah.
And you find, and you know, sometimes parents are surprised when they observe their children around other people and how their attitude and outlook completely changes, and they immediately become this positive, cooperative, socially driven being. And it's all a matter of attitude. We are highly sensitive to attitudes, which is why I advocate for understanding, and attitude is part of that. You know, you need the right attitude in order to gain understanding. The right attitude sends you on your way towards greater understanding, because it's a direct result of that. My attitude is now to learn more as opposed to change more. The change is inevitable. Change never has to be a primary focus, because change will happen regardless. But you can determine the direction in which change flows through applying the right attitude.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's what it's I say the same about education. Education is never the priority, because that happens anyway.
Yeah.
If we're talking about autistic children who have interest-based minds, you never have to worry about education, because they will take care of that themselves. And if they don't want to teach themselves, they will ask you. So well-being is the most important thing when it comes to education. Because if they feel content, if they feel good in themselves, interest then just takes over. When it comes to this kind of thing, the more the parent knows, the more the teacher knows, the more the teacher understands, the more the parent understands, the more dedicated they are to building a relationship based on trust, the more dedicated they are to building a relationship based on reciprocity and mutual
understanding.
Mutual understanding, thank you.
Yeah.
The more obvious the strategies become, you know, they will just naturally exude from you. What to do in certain situations becomes an instinct. I want to get parents to that level. So I don't want to get too involved as to what the parent does with their child I've never met before. You know, I don't want to be responsible for suggesting the wrong strategy. My aim is to take the parents on a journey into this highly complex mind, and I can give the parents the tools to do so, but I can't, it's not up to me to save their relationship. I want to help the parents save their own relationship with the child. If I am to be grateful, if I'm to be proud of any kind of achievement, it is for laying the foundations for that shift in perspective and attitude. And you know, the inception of the journey towards greater understanding. That's what I want. I don't want to give parents the tools to save their relationship with their child and to get the child to do what they want them to do.
No,
it won't happen. My demand avoidance will say absolutely not.
No. But
and they can learn from that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking as well. Sorry, Harry.
It's okay. Someone needs to stop me talking eventually.
No, but I'm just thinking. We got sent that really amazing testimonial at the weekend, and what the guy said, the dad said, is exactly what you were saying. It wasn't my daughter now does what I say.
Yes.
It was because of our workshops, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
He now understands his daughter better.
That's it. But it's simple. It's not simple to get to that place.
No.
But it's a simple. I mean, it's simpler than people might think. And within the simple shift in perspective yields profound results. And that's what I want. I don't want to feel as though, because if parents don't understand and they always need new strategies, I don't want them to get addicted to the strategies that might work temporarily but don't work long term. You know, I don't want to feel as though parents would have to keep coming back to me. You know, that's not me having a business mindset there at all. But that's not important to me. I want to feel as though I pave the way for new understanding, and then they go about their own business. You know, it's their family, it's not mine. You know, I want to help them understand PDA. I want to help them live a PDA friendly way. And there's so much that people, I say parents because obviously that is whom we are talking about for the majority. I want people who have no choice but to live amongst PDA individuals to understand the art of PDA living. And I want them to understand that it is a state of mind. They have that secondary light bulb moment. First of all, it's reading up about PDA. Yes, that ticks every box for my daughter or son. The second one is, I get it now. I get it now. I want to give people that. And once they have that, they shouldn't need me anymore. You know,
I agree.
And I think there's nothing more beautiful than knowing that a family, after enduring the throes of a difficult situation, suddenly feel enlightened and understand what they need to do now, and really feeling it in their heart.
I think you're right. And I was just thinking about that example of that testimonial. I was just thinking, actually, if I ever got a testimonial that said, "Dear Laura, I just want to pass on my thanks for the training because my child now does everything I tell them to do," I would feel sick.
Oh gosh, yeah, right?
I would feel sick. I would think, oh my God.
I'd be disappointed.
I'd be so devastated.
That's the result of a workshop that I have run. I would feel ashamed of myself.
I would feel like you just haven't got it.
Yeah.
So it's not, that's really important, because what we're saying here is that our work, our workshops, our message, whatever, is we will never, ever, ever be teaching a parent or a teacher how to make a child do anything, or how to change, because that's not what this is about.
We're not compliance coaches. No. And it's also, you know, I often talk about, you know, when it comes to PDA, we have to start from the inside and work our way out.
Yeah, definitely.
So I had a client not so long ago who was talking to me. Well, she was stressing her need for her son to learn about money. And I said, it's just not important. And she said, but we need money to live. At the end of the day, my son is going to be entering the adult world with no knowledge of money. And it's not that I don't think money is important. My issue is the route towards understanding the importance of money is what needs to change. It's a bit like the child's route towards, let's say, a successful career. I think that would be wonderful. I mean, I don't describe things in terms of success or career. Right now, I feel it doesn't matter if I'm successful, because I feel like I'm living the life I'm meant to live. You know, so if people want to call that successful, be my guest. So it's the route towards a purposeful adulthood that matters, not the purposeful adulthood. I'm not describing that. I'm describing the route towards it. The route towards understanding economic matters is what I care about, not the economic matters itself. See, this woman was taking the concept of money and imposing it upon her child as this indispensably important fact of life, without which you will never make it. And I said, I'm not saying I'm not, it's a different paradigm, right? It's a completely different paradigm. I'm not thinking in those terms because those terms are not PDA friendly. That doesn't mean to say he won't get there. It means to say you're not giving him the direct experience of why money is important. You are poles apart right now. That's your most pressing concern, the fact that you are poles apart and you're trying to lob the concept of money from a distance and it's not reaching him. The understanding, the cooperation, the rapport that you build and the relationship that you build and the trust and the reciprocity that you can form will ironically be more beneficial than any kind of rigid instruction that you impose upon your child in an old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
So it's the approach, it's the attitude, it's the unwillingness to understand the other person.
Yeah, and I think it's the same with quite a few of the questions we get. It's the same point. It's like, how can I get my child to school every day? How can I make sure my child goes to university? How can I guarantee that my child's gonna
it's all about if people are asking those questions, it's all about what the parent wants. It's got nothing to do with what the child wants. And who's to say going to school or university isn't important to the child? I'm not saying that. I'm saying this approach is not working because you are becoming stressed and your child is becoming more resistant. There is friction without harmony. That's the problem, and that arises from the parent trying to force the child into their world. No compromise is being made. No attempt to understand the child's inner world is being made.
No.
You do that first. Forget long-term goals. Forget them immediately. Your only goal is to strengthen your relationship with your child. And if you're coming to either me or Laura, you should be approaching it from a place of humility and a willingness to understand things beyond your own experience. That's what I'm resisting. I'm resisting their resistance to new information and to new ideas.
Yeah, I think the other thing as well with that is that sometimes it's what the parent thinks is important to them, they then think is important to their child, and again that shows a lack of understanding.
It's that.
Yeah, I had a lady once who like, I used to run a social skills club, and this lady's daughter was coming to my social skills club, and the girl, she was a really lovely girl, but she just didn't want to socialize with other children. She was quite happy coming to our club and playing on her own, and I was horrified because the mum said that I think she'd been sort of spying on us through a glass door, and said, I've noticed in the session today, you know, she hasn't really played with the children, and I'm bringing her here to sort of socialise. And I just said, look, you know, really something really interesting happened today. I showed all the children a picture, and the picture had a little girl standing on her own, and then 3 other children standing in a group, and they were ignoring this child. And all the other children in the group, when I said what's going on, said that they're ignoring her, they're bullying her, they won't let her play. And when I asked this other little girl, she said, maybe she wants to be on her own.
That's the thing, yeah.
And it was like the parent was so desperate to make the child socialise because that's what she thought was important, and it wasn't. And it was, like you say, it's a complete mismatch of expectation.
It's always important to find those common denominators between yourself and your child. That could be the first step.
Yeah.
In building a relationship based on trust and mutual understanding.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you notice your child isolates themselves, inquire further as to why that could be.
Yeah.
Do they want to be alone, or do they want to be amongst other children, but they feel that they can't? You know, those are the questions that I'd welcome in. You know, so that's, I could use that as a good example right now. I could have a parent saying they're not socializing. How do I get them to socialize? Yeah. Immediately, my anxiety is spiked just thinking about that. Or they could come to me and say, Harry, I've noticed my child likes to be alone much of the time. Now, I remember doing that a little bit as a child, but not quite to this extent. I had a few more friends than my child has. Do you think that's okay? Yeah. Is it something I leave? Or should I try and encourage them to be social? Maybe the parent feels conflicted as to what society wants and what they know deep down is best for their child. that attitude is an attitude I can work with, because they are daring to go a little deeper. And if I want to make it slightly more controversial, even when a parent comes to me and says, I am being sworn at from dawn till dusk, I understand it is not nice to be on the receiving end of verbal abuse from dawn till dusk. But then a parent might, I've discussed this recently in a podcast I featured on. That very day, I was talking about on my Facebook page how I don't believe in overreactions.
Yeah.
And someone said, but you have no idea what my situation is like. My child will respond very aggressively when we try and do nice things. And immediately I think, who are you to describe what a nice thing is?
Yeah, exactly.
You may be nice, your child, it may not be. So when a parent will come to me and say, I'm being sworn at from dawn till dusk, they have my sympathy, because it is not nice for them. I'm acknowledging that, but you always have to, you still fall into the trap of not thinking about things in a different way, not understanding that something you're doing, subtle and slight, be it may it be, it could still be affecting your child in a way that you can't imagine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm often very conflicted. I'm often very conflicted because I will notice that the parent complaining about being verbally abused all day is either unable to understand the autistic experience or is refusing not to understand it. And then when they use words like they're being rude, they're being horrible, they're being rude, I think some responses are justified, some responses are not accepted. And I say every response is technically reasonable.
Yeah.
Because we have to understand that triggers are not objective.
No.
Just because you think you're doing something nice and harmless to your child doesn't mean their experience reflects that. So I immediately find myself questioning the person on the receiving end of the abusive remarks. But at the same time, I know it's not nice to be on the receiving end of abusive remarks. So I'm always so conflicted in those situations as to what to feel. I'm sympathizing and I'm frustrated at the same time. And that's just an honest statement from me.
Yeah, no, but I think it's really important. And again, I think there's two things there. I think one, it's thinking about, I think it's really important to think about what's a nice thing for the parent may be the worst thing possible for the child. It's a bit like when we went to America, Harry, and I was going shopping, which you probably couldn't have thought of anything worse than walking around the shops with me. But you wanted to go off to Michael Jackson's house, which wasn't appealing to me. So we just did our own thing. And it was like, we didn't force each other to join each other on these trips we both found enjoyable.
I'll add just to that, we were in Chicago and I was visiting the house Michael Jackson was born in and lived in for 11 years. I didn't take a trip to the Neverland Ranch.
No.
In Santa.
I like Neverland Ranch.
Yes, I don't know what happened there.
It sounds better to me. Yeah, but the point is that what's nice for you wouldn't have been nice for me, and what was nice for me, I got quite excited about going.
So when it comes to hobbies and interests, we can kind of, it's a bit like we can kind of tolerate it more. But when it comes to social norms, which we essentially see as the fabric of society, there seems less room for flexibility. So often, I get this a few times. Oh, I was just saying good morning. It's like, it's just we can't help but view that as a polite gesture. I get it myself. If I'm ignored by someone in the street, I'm furious.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect or completely consistent by any stretch of the imagination. If someone doesn't thank me after I do something for them, I'm enraged at them. How dare they? But this is what I mean. It's so deeply ingrained. We have to see beyond that. We have to view, parents demanding gratitude, demanding their child thanks them for something the child may not be grateful for a start, and may find damaging. You must say thank you when someone does that for you. So I didn't ask for this thing to be done for me. I don't like this thing. This thing is useless. This thing is ruining my life. but I have to say thank you for it. It almost feels like you're living under some kind of totalitarian regime when you're autistic, and you are compelled to adhere to social norms. You know, good morning. I've had to institute no good morning policies in places I've lived in, and the neurotypical person for whom I've instituted this policy will end up feeling terrible after a couple of weeks, not being polite. I'm like, oh, you have no idea. I'm having a field day here. No good mornings. And they're like, but I can't deal with it because I'm not saying good morning to you. It's like, what are we going to do now? You know, it's tricky. These are two worlds that we're trying to reconcile. I'm into the reconciliation of the autistic and non-autistic world, as opposed to one side winning.
Yeah. No, I think it's really important. I caught a bit of one of your chats you did the other night, actually, and I saw a bit that really I thought was brilliant when you said about inclusion and throwing a goldfish into a field of sheep and expecting the goldfish to fit in.
That does sound like a Harryism.
It definitely was. It was one of your. It was brilliant, but
I can't remember when I said that.
It was with Chloe and another lady on.
Oh yes.
Was it Friday evening? I don't know. I don't even know.
Yeah. We were talking about relationships.
Yeah, but it's a similar thing, isn't it? It's like it's just being on the same level. It's getting into that flow together rather than trying to make people behave in a different way, because that's what fits in with your expectations and your values. I think that's so important.
It is so important.
Are there any other questions that annoy you, Harry, before we finish?
Most questions annoy me, Laura. No. Most people annoy me. Most questions annoy me. But you know what? In a sense, if these things cease to exist, I wouldn't have things to complain about.
No.
That sounds a lot worse.
That does sound a lot worse. So.
Let me think.
I know a question that annoys you.
Go on.
If you have demand avoidance, how do you manage to get yourself to these talks?
Oh my God. That one really irritates me. You're right. It irritates me for two reasons. One, because I find it very narrow-minded and short-sighted. And two, it changes my perspective back to an old world perspective. See, I often talk about PDA being a philosophy and a state of mind. I've explained that in previous recordings, haven't I?
Yeah.
So I don't need to go into that now.
No.
But so the example I use is to the parents, you know, when your child is on the Xbox all day, or when they watch hours upon hours of YouTube and Netflix, I say, where's the demand avoidance there? I say, I'm exactly the same with my relationship to my career. It nourishes every fiber of my being. So I'm not forcing myself onto the train that will take me to the venue at which I'll be speaking. I'm falling into it as effortlessly as your child falls into the Xbox world. That's how I describe it.
Yeah.
So it's my default state. It's nothing can top this. Well, something bloody good has to be able to top this, right? This is my oxygen. This is my raison d'etre. So everything about my career is in harmony with who I am. Yeah. So I don't view it as, oh, I've got to get to the train at that time. I don't break it down like that. It's not, it doesn't, that's not how I operate. If it's something else with which I am not aligned, those things begin to matter, because I talk about being in the PDA current. I'm in the PDA current in this job. Outside of this role, my anxiety will spike up and I'll be trying to get back to whatever it is. So everything you put in front of me that doesn't relate to my lifestyle, my Harry Thompson PDA extraordinaire lifestyle, is no, can't do that. No, what's this? No. I immediately tap back into that state of mind, because everything your child is doing is geared towards getting into that flow state. Yeah. And that is what saves PDA. And the child knows that intuitively from the moment they are born. They are untouchable. They are unstintingly free. They will do it their way and their way only. You cannot divert them away from their agenda. And if you do, they'll get stuck. Yeah. They'll find themselves stuck in a complete rut. Yeah. So that's my attitude and relationship towards my career. I'm talking to you now with what people would describe as good manners. Because I have a reason to respect you. I have a reason to cooperate with you. If it was something else, I would be disruptive and maybe what people might call rude, because nothing about what you would be saying would resonate with my brain. So the good manners is another example. Like, how do I get them to be polite at the dinner table? That's not your concern.
No, it's
the
not.
child will display good manners, and the child will be respectful to people if they have a good reason to be so. And it happens all the time. I've met many PDA kids, all of whom are delightful to be around because of what I'm talking about right now. They have no reason to sabotage the process. They have no reason to be horrible. They have no reason to be rude. Because you have to give them a reason to respect you.
Yeah.
That's the key. It starts from the inside and works its way out. I feel good. I like the process of sitting down at the dinner table. I like the way everything's set up. I like the food. And the child will behave themselves. If there's one reason not to, they sabotage.
Well, I had an interesting, I had a very interesting consult the other night with some parents, and one of the mum's key things was her son not putting his elbows on the dinner table. And it's like,
fuck off.
I didn't say that, obviously, but it was like, it's so not important. It's so, who cares if he's got his elbows on the dinner table? If he's, exactly what you just said, Harry, if he's coming down, sitting with the family, and it's a positive experience for everybody, including that child. Elbows on the table is so not important.
Yeah. This is one of the reasons I'd envy pets growing up, because they don't have to adhere to all of these bullshit social norms, Yeah. And I remember thinking, God, they don't pay rent, they don't go to school.
I remember thinking that about my cat. I used to be really jealous with my cat.
The life of Riley they lead.
Yeah.
So unfair. But there we go.
Okay.
Thanks,
right, Harry, as always, it's been a delight. Always a delight, never a bore. Right, I'm going to stop recording now.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.